Okay, let's say that you got a call back from the people who wanted the duck billboard done for them, and this time they went to see how their duck would look like on a red, green, and blue paper. And they supply you a red, green, and blue paper that was provided by another artist, and they ask you to do your magic again. Now this time you remember that they swapped out the snail for a duck, which seemed like an insane thing to do at the time, so you're not fully trusting of the clients not to want to do a similar process on you again. So thinking, okay, I might need to change this duck out 3 times. I don't really want to do that. How do I plan ahead? Well, they say that they just want the files as PNGs, so they're not going to deal with PSDs or anything. So that means, in your case, a linked smart object is probably exactly how you want to go. So with the embedded smart objects, anytime you placed an embedded object, it was stored inside either as a PSB file or as a different file type, but it was embedded inside of each of these documents. In the case of a linked file, it will keep referencing an external image. So in this case, I've created a folder called image files. I have the paper background, but I also have, behold, the duck. Yay, so we got the demo duck. So with that duck, I can link to it. And as long as I don't lose this file, then I have access to it and I can change it. If I lose this file though, I've got a problem. It will have a rendering of it inside the Photoshop document, but it will no longer behave like a smart object because it doesn't have the original to work off of anymore. In fact, you'd need to export it. Now, there are a lot more things you can do with smart objects. I'm just going to give you smart objects with in linked smart objects. I'm going to give you a quick rundown on this, because I also want to show you that you can do some cool stuff with text, and I'm going to do that in the next video. But because there's so much on this, I'm going to provide a link to the Adobe website on linked smart objects. They go into this in detail. It is well worth the watch. It explains so much more than what I'm going to talk about for this class. Simply because of the fact that if you lose these image files while you're working, it's very difficult for you to recover from that. I don't want to add that complication to an online class. It will become burdensome for you to turn in your assignments, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to demonstrate how cool linked smart objects are, and then we're not going to deal with linked smart objects again. Do watch the video on linked smart objects though. I don't want you guys to suffer if the next place you work asks you to deal with some linked smart objects and you haven't even played around with it a little bit. Watch that video. So in this case, I'm going to go to File, and instead of placing embedded like I would if I wanted to embed a smart object, I'm going to place linked. I'm going to go over to my image files, grab my duck demo, and boom, I've got my duck. Now I want my duck to be multiply. I will save my green. I want my duck to be multiply in blue as well, but I'm going to go File, Place Linked, Duck Demo, set him to multiply, save him. Go to the red one, and I will File, Place Linked, and place my duck demo, and set him to multiply. Okay, now for the fun of it, let's say that I closed one of these and just had these two, and sure enough you get a call from the client and they say, do make sure that the duck has a hat. And they send you a hat image and you go, all right, I can deal with this. So you go over to your linked smart object and you open up your duck demo. Here's your duck. You go over to wherever they tossed in a hat. So here is a top hat. And I will go ahead and place a smart object inside a smart object. How crazy is that? Convert to smart object. You can have smart objects all the way down. All right, and your duck has a hat. Beautiful. All right, so now that I've done this and I've saved, and remember I just opened this file directly from my image files where I had the duck seated. When I come over to any of the open documents, they've changed as well. They've changed because they were open at the time that I didn't edit to the original linked document. Pretty cool, right? Now, what happens if we were to open up the red one that was not open? Well, here's the thing. Because he wasn't open, he did not auto-update. But if you take a look down here, whereas in the blue, you have the standard linked smart object. Oh, by the way, I think I skipped this. The linked smart object has a different icon from the standard smart object. If we take a look at the duck demo with the smart object on here, normally you have these little file inside of a file icon down here in layers, if you can see that. On the linked smart objects, instead you have a little link icon, and that's about it. It's so tiny, even with the large size view. Can I make this any bigger? It's really as big as it gets. Okay, well, so be it. Okay, so on the ones that have not updated, notice that you've got this little icon. If I click on that, it will pop it open, but it still won't edit it. So what you need to do is update this, and there are two ways. You can either right click, and I believe they have update modified content, update all modified content in the event that you have more than one of these. You can also go up to layer, smart objects, and should have an update in here, update modified content. So let's just update modified content, and boom, we get a little top hat, and that's it. I think that's really amazing. You can have a ton of these, and whatever edit you do to the one original file will happen to all of them. And so if you double click this is, by the way, my actual duck demo. So you have to be really careful with linked smart objects. Let's say that I created a new layer and added a mustache to this duck. Boop, boop. So I go, all right, cool. All of these guys updated this time. Life's good. But then if I open up my duck demo for something else, sure enough, this one has also changed. So this is something to be aware of with linked smart objects. They can be a little dangerous, and it gets a little bit worse. You have to be very careful. Let me close all of these. What happens if you were to, say, accidentally delete your duck, and you didn't notice that, and you came back later and you popped open your 3 files? It goes, hey, I can't locate this asset. Do you want to relink it? I go, sure. Uh-oh, it's not where I think it is. So you have to go back and recreate the duck from scratch in that case. Now you can cancel it. And as I was saying, you still have the one to work with, but if you double click it, it will ask you to locate it before you can edit it. And for all intents and purposes, this is now just a flattened layer. It's not actually a smart object anymore. It can't behave like one until you locate the original content, and Photoshop's not going to keep track of that for you. So the other thing you can do is when you are getting ready to save, you can package it. So let me first come back over here, and I'll use Windows undo delete to restore my duck, which means that now when I open my 3 ducks, sure enough, it's happy. Notice no alert now. It's just good to go. The alert would show up over here in this layers icon in the bottom right corner. So I have the option of doing a package, and this is just like the package from InDesign if you've done it. Just going to roll up to my desktop real quick and call this blue duck. Yeah, no, I don't want that in the folder. I'm sorry. I need to create that folder. My bad. New folder. We'll call it blue duck and select folder. All right. So what this will do is package everything out. And if I pop open my desktop, notice I've got blue duck, blue folder, and then I've got my blue duck, our new blue copy of my blue duck PSD. But more importantly, I have my linked objects, and I have my demo duck. Now, keep in mind that it grabbed the linked objects, but in my original where I had it, let me put these side by side so you can see them. Well, it grabbed the linked, here we go. It grabbed the linked objects, the duck, it left alone my paper that I happen to have in there. And the reason is that Photoshop isn't concerned with packaging other things. So it's a bit of a risk even using the package. So that's kind of where it stands. There's a lot more to smart objects, linked smart objects. Please watch the video that Adobe has provided on their website. It goes over this in great detail, a lot of fantastic uses, some of the pitfalls, some of the ways to manage it. It takes about 20 minutes. It's absolutely worth your time. Highly, highly recommend it. Okay, let's take a look at how text works in smart objects, and from there we can go ahead and actually do the assignment for this week. How fun will that be? See you next video.